Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, this is another video presentation for question document examination subject. So, this is actually a continuation. And for this video, we are going to talk about the common terms and description of letters. So, this belongs still on the topic handwriting identification and examination. So first in here, let us try to have here the term stroke. So when we say stroke, as we define here in the study of question document, especially in handwriting identification and examination, it is said to be the path followed by the pen in the paper. Okay, so combining several strokes, we can create, or these strokes create letters, okay, and symbols or figures. Okay, so meron po tayong mga iba't ibang klase ng strokes. So meron po tayong strokes that are vertical, okay, or in a straight line. Meron din po tayong stroke that are in a horizontal line, okay? And we have also strokes that are diagonal, okay? It's either on different sides, or it depends, or it has different slants also, okay? And there are strokes that are circular also, and there are also strokes that are, we can say, that are wavy strokes, okay, wavy strokes or curved strokes. Okay, so combining these strokes, let's just try to have here combining, okay, vertical strokes with horizontal strokes. So makakabuo po tayo ng mga letters. Okay, so strokes, simply we are referring to the path being followed by the pen in the paper. Okay, so combining several strokes, that creates what we are seeing now, just like letters, okay, or what we are seeing as figures and ano to, the images, maybe drawings and others. Okay, well, for the question document, most of it is for letters, okay, or symbols. Now we have here also another term we refer to as arch. Okay, so arch is any arcade form. Okay, we are referring to any arcade form in the body of a letter, okay, especially found in small letters, okay, which contain arches. So an example that we could have in here is this, or with regards to this image. So we can have here the small letter F, and it has an arch on his body. Okay, so as you can see, this is the arch form of the letter F. Okay, so we can also see that in small letter A, okay, particularly in this kind of letter A, which is in this part. Okay, so any arcade form in a body of a letter that we are seeing, we term them also as arch in studying handwriting. Okay, and now we have here another term, ladies and gentlemen, which is the ascender and baseline. So let us try to have here this image. Okay, but let me read to you the meaning of ascenders, or definition given for ascender. So it is said to be the top portion of a letter. Okay, take note, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the top portion of a letter, or upper loop. Okay, so we are referring to the upper loop, or big letters, or a long letter. Okay, so take note also that we have a baseline, so it is the same concept with other aspects, or with other or it is common also. We adapted the meaning, which is when we say baseline, this is the alignment. Okay, it says here that imaginary alignment of writing. Okay, so the ruled or imaginary line upon which the writing rests, or we are simply referring to the bottom portion. Okay, the bottom portion of the writings. Okay, so now let us try to have here this illustration. So we are going to look for the ascender, as we have said a while ago. ascender, those are the top portion of a letter or an upper loop. So we have here the long letters. So you can see here we have the ascenders. Okay, the top portion of the, so this one, the top portion of these letters or these upper loop letters, we are referring to them as an ascenders. Okay, take note of that, or ascender. Alright, and kapag sinabi po nating baseline, syempre yung nasa baba. Take note, meron po tayo, yung baseline po ay hindi yung pinakababa. Iba po ang tawag natin dito. Ang baseline po natin is simply the line or the imaginary line where the letters, okay, where the foot or where the maybe the as said here, we're in the writing rest, okay, but we are not referring to the other long letters, okay, or the long letters, because with that, katulad ng sinabi natin kanina, on the upper loop, okay, we are referring to them as ascenders, pero meron din po tayong tinatawag na descenders. That is the bottom portion, okay, of the lower loop letters, okay, or long letters, or the lower loop letters also, okay. So this is their descender, but we don't call this as baseline, or when we are going to draw an imaginary line, okay, aligning those lower loop letters, we don't call them as the baseline. We don't call that as the baseline, but we call it as a descender line, okay. So saan po yung baseline natin? So, yung baseline po natin ay yung nandito sa part na ito. Okay? This is where the small letter rests. Okay? Or that belonging to long letters. It doesn't have a lower loop. Okay? So, anyway, that is what we are referring to the baseline. Take note of that. Okay? We are going to have here more. We are going to talk more about this as we move on here on the following terminologies. Okay. All right. So we have here also these bedded. Okay. Bedded. This is a description we are also we commonly see. Okay. On beautiful handwritings. So it is said here that it is the preliminary embellishment. Okay. Take note. A preliminary embellishment. Okay. Initial stroke, which usually occurs in capital letters. Okay, take note, it is a form of embellishment. All right, and this is considered to be or found most of the initial stroke, on initial stroke. Okay, so you can see here there is a bedded, or where is the bead here. Okay, kapag sinabi nating bedded, it's like a shape of a bead. Okay, or yung mga nilalagay natin sa mga in some souvenirs, or yung bracelet, okay, that are made of beads. Okay, so kung mapapansin po natin, hugis bead po siya, or ito po yung tinatawag natin na beaded, okay, or that is we are referring to as beaded letters. Okay, so that is a form of embellishment. Alright, so yan po, ito po yung tinatawag natin na bedded. Okay? Alright, or bead in other words. And we have here also another form of embellishment. Okay? So this is said as beard. Okay? So kung sa beard, I mean kung sa tao, kung sa lalaki, meron tayo yung tinatawag na beard, is we are going to compare it with the and dito rin sa handwriting, I should say, we have a terminology referring to beard. Okay, so at bakit po tinawag na beard? Because it is a rudimentary curve initial stroke of a letter, or hugis beard po siya. So magkaiba po siya sa hook, kasi kapag sa hook ay hugis hook talaga, parang sa fishing rod ang itsura. Alright? And pag sinabi po nating beard naman, ganito po ang itsura. It's just a rudimentary initial stroke. Okay? So, parang beard lang, or si Mr. Suave. Okay? Yung beard ni Mr. Suave. Alright? So, that is what we're referring to as beard. Okay? So, just like a beard. Alright, so anyway, that is for beard. And we have here also for blunt. Okay, meron tayong naririnig, blunt beginning stroke or blunt initial strokes or blunt in ending strokes of a letter. Parang ano kaya ang ibig sabihin nila doon? Well, let me read to you the definition. It says here that the beginning of ending stroke of a letter, blunt ending initial strokes are results of the drawing process in forgery. So it is common to be observable in forgery or forged writings. Okay, so let us try to compare these uh, two illustrations. So as you can see here, saan po kaya dito ang masasabi natin that has a blunt ending stroke? Okay? So kung mapapansin po natin, unahin natin dito, or if we are going to compare, masasabi natin ay ang blunt ending or the writing that has a blunt ending here is this one. Okay, bakit? Pag sinabi po nating blunt ending, hindi po siya pahaba, kumbaga. So it is somewhat like it forms a dot on the end part. Okay? So ano yung tinutukoy natin? Kung mapapansin niyo dito, blunt po yung ending ng stroke ng letter E. Bakit? Ikumpara po natin dito, freely po yung movement. Okay? Or parang sasabi natin normal yung way of handwriting or mabilis yung handwriting niya. Unlike dito, it is a sign of forgery dahil kinukopya na yung sulat kaya mabagal siya. Kaya po nagkakaroon ng blunt ending. Okay? So, it is observable also in slow handwriting. So, yun po yung tinatawag natin na blunt. Okay? Meron din po blunt initial strokes. Unlike dito, it's tapering. Okay? Na kung mapapansin natin, freely po yung or mabilis po yung pagsulat niya. Okay? So, unlike po sa slow handwriting na blunt, usually yung ending. Okay? So, yan po yung pagkakaiba. Pero ito po, tandaan po natin, pag sinabing tapering stroke or tapering ending, ibig sabihin po nun, parang makapal siya tapos biglang numipis. Okay? Dahil, ma-observe natin yan usually sa ending. Okay? So, makapal and then biglang nanipis, and that is a tapering stroke. Okay? Or tapering ending na naman, or masasabi natin na tapering. Okay, that is the difference between tapering and blunt. And now we have here the body. Okay, so we are just referring to the main portion of the letter. Okay, excluding the initials, okay, or initial strokes or terminal strokes, or excluding the diacritic of any letter. So meron pong nabigay na example dyan is letter O. Okay, so the body of the letter O, it doesn't have diacritics, it doesn't have any embellishment and others. Then we are referring to it, the body of letter O is the oval itself. Okay, so let's say on letter T, okay, meron po tayo ditong letter T, small letter T. Okay, so pag we are going to apply this definition, di ba? Sabi po natin, the body is the main portion of the letter, excluding some of initial or terminal strokes. So if we are going to look at letter T, the body of the letter will be the T shape in here. Okay, excluding the additional stroke in here. Or maybe we are going to apply letter I. Okay, make use letter I as an example. So which is the body of the letter here? So we have here the diacritic. Okay, the diacritic letter, diacritic or the dot as a diacritic. Okay, an additional stroke to form letter I. Okay, so the body of the letter I itself is this short stroke in here. Okay, so that is for the body. Well, we have here also another one, bowl. Okay, so by the word itself, it is a fully rounded oval, okay, or circular form of a letter complete into O or just like a bowl shape. Okay, so that is what we are referring, or this is what we are referring, or it's a perfect example of a bowl. Okay, and we can observe this in some letters also. We are some letters just like letter B. Okay, it has a bowl. Okay, and some they are calling it also as counter. Okay, the shape, I mean the open space, okay, they are referring it as counter. Okay, well, we can say that that is also a bowl, a fully rounded oval circular shape. All right, and we have here the buckle, okay, or buckle nut. Okay? So, pag sinabi po nating buckle nut or buckle, okay? So, it is a loop made as a flourish which is added to letters as in small letter K and letter B. Okay? Or in capital letters A, K, P. All, and the horizontal and loop strokes that are often used to complete a letter. Right? So, tignan po natin yung buckle nut. Okay, pag sinabi po nating buckle nut, it is common also on cursive handwriting. Katulad po ng binanggit, letter K. Okay, so to form a letter K, mapapansin po natin, it's like we have here a buckle. Okay, a buckle nut. Okay, that is forming. Okay, katulad din po sa katulad din po sa sa big letter. Okay, in printing, mapapansin po natin dyan sa gitna, there is a buckle form. Okay, ito po yung tinatawag natin as the buckle nut. Alright? So, sa letter B naman, okay, mapapansin po natin, it has also a buckle nut in here, in this part. Okay, or in this part, in cursive handwriting. Okay, ulitin natin sa letter B, it is somewhat like this. Okay, so saan po yung buckle nut? Okay, ito po. Alright? So, yan po. Yan po yung tinatawag natin na buckle nut. Okay? Same as to letter P. Okay? So, as to letter P, meron sa baba. In continuation. Parang isusulat mo ang pen, merong buckle nut na mabubuo doon. Okay? So, yan po yung buckle or buckle nut na sinasabi natin. And, as to the descender, na-emphasize na po natin kanina, so hindi po baseline yung, I mean, on the meron po tayo yung lower loop letters din po. Okay? Or that has a lower on the portion. It has, okay, we can say that long letters. Okay? So, it has the top, I mean, the opposite, as we have said, this is the opposite of the ascender or the lower portion of a letter. Okay? Such as this one. Alright? So, that is the what we so called as descender. Okay? And take note, forming or drawing an imaginary line connecting those descenders, we are referring to it as descender line. Alright? And ganun din sa ascenders, forming the imaginary line that we are able to create, or we call it as an ascender line. Okay? And let us try to have here more on the next part. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have here also diacritic. Okay, so diacritic, this is an additional strokes to complete a letter. Common po ito sa letter T, yung nabanggit natin kanina. Kaya kung tatanggalin po natin yung diacritic na ito na horizontal line, short horizontal stroke na yan, mahanap po natin yung body niya. Okay? So, this is an example of diacritic. Another one is on letter I. This is an example of a diacritic. Alright? And in letter J, that is an example of a diacritic. Okay? So, that is for diacritic. And now we have here also eyelet or okay, or eye loop na tinatawag po nila. Okay, so this is a small loop or curve formed inside as a letters. Okay, this may occur inside the oval of letters A, D, O. Okay, the small loop formed by the stroke that extend in divergent direction as in small letters. Well, anyway, the bowl a while ago that we are mentioning, it is a complete circle. Okay, complete oval shape. Well, that is common for big letters. Big letters. Okay, for the eyelet or eye loop, we commonly observe this on small letters. Okay, katulad na lang po ng letter A. Okay, this is the eyelet or the eye loop. Okay, or we can have here the letter D. Okay, letter D, then we can say that as we can have also its eyelet or eye loop, or small letter O. Okay, so those are the examples that we can have as an example for eyelet, or showing eyelet or eye loop. Okay, so this is just the small loop formed by the stroke that extend in divergent direction. Okay, as in small letters. And another one is on letter E. Okay, so now we have here the next one, which is the foot. What we are referring to foot as the is it is where the lower part which rests on the baseline. So take note, hindi po yung sa ascender line. Kasi kapag sa ascender line po, if it rests on the ascender line, then that is the what we refer to as ascender. Tama po ba? Okay, so kung kanina, di ba? This is the baseline. We are saying that this is the baseline. So, ito po yung tinatawag natin na foot of the letters. Alright? So, hindi po ito. Kasi kapag that is a long letter that has a lower loop, then we are referring to it as descender. Okay? So, just imagine na lang po na sa sa structure po, meron po tayong, ang itsura po ay, okay, so we have here, around, okay, so if we are going to create an imaginary line here, that is the descender line. And common po na may lower loop strokes ay letter G. Okay? And let's say we have here the letter M. Okay? So, asan po dito ang foot, or ano po yung masasabi natin na foot dyan? Okay? So, take note, it rests on the baseline. Alright? The lower part that rests on the baseline. So, as to here, we call this as our baseline. That is the baseline. Okay? Let's say as BL, as a baseline. And this is the descender line. Alright? So, hindi po natin sasabihin na that is a foot. But, we are referring to it as descender. And, ito po yung sinasabi natin na foot of the letter. Alright? And next is what we have here is habits. So when we say habits, yung paulit-ulit lang po, any repeated elements or details, okay, which may serves as individualized writing. Okay, so common po, or kung common na yung letter I niya is palaging ganon, okay, that maybe is his habit. Okay, or ang letter I niya is palaging may merong, ang ginagamit niya is a dot that has an open space, then maybe that is his habit. Okay, or kung hindi man, yung dot niya is medyo malaki. Okay, so that is habit, or that is what we are referring to as habits also in handwriting. Okay, and we can observe this because this we can say that this is something that we can use to identify the handwriter. All right, and we have here also hesitation. And this is a term applied to irregular thickening, okay, of the ink. So, nagkakaroon po ng hesitation, or these hesitations, it forms irregular thickening of the ink. Okay, katulad na lang po nung tayo ay nag-spelling. Okay, nag-aaral na mag-spelling, kumbaga. Alright? So, let's say, hindi mo kapisado ang spelling ng bonus, let's say, a bag. Okay, simpleng-simple pero nakalimutan mo kunwari. Okay, and then napaisip ka ano ba yung spelling ng bag? Okay, is it B-E-G or B-A-G? So parang nakadikit yung pen sa papel. Okay, or pahinto-hinto ka. Okay? Then merong mamumuong thickening of the ink. Okay? And ma-observe po yan by deeper analyzation of the handwriting. Okay? So it could be formed by stopping, okay, or hesitation na tinatawag natin. Stopping, okay, stopping while the pen is stuck on the position, or stuck at the position, or while the pen is pressured on the pen, okay, impressed on the paper, I should say. All right, so that is for hesitation. Just like in here, you can see that there's a hesitation, right? So kung mapapansin niyo, there's a thickening in this part. So medyo nagkaroon ng hesitation. This might be a sign that he is trying to imitate handwriting. Okay, and we have here also the hook or through, which is it is a bend, okay, bend or be bent into the shape of a hook. Okay, katulad na lang po nito. So that is what we refer to as hooks. Okay, so we have here also hump, the rounded inside, rounded outside of the bend, crook, or curve in a small letters. So simply we are referring to this as humps. Common po sa letter M and letter N. All right. And we have here a knob, okay, the rounded appearance at the beginning or ending of these strokes. Okay, the extra deposit of ink in the initial and terminal due to the slow withdrawal of the pen from the paper. Usually common po ito sa fountain pen or commonly found on a handwriting that was used is a fountain pen. Fountain pen, I should say. So, meron po tayong halimbawa, okay, yung mga initial, this one, okay? Kung mapapansin niyo medyo makapal siya sa una, and then numipis. Parang, yan. Okay? So, we can refer to them as knob, okay? The rounded appearance at the beginning strokes, okay? That extra deposit of an ink in the initial or terminal strokes. Ma-observe po natin yan, yung mga to. Okay? We are referring to them as knob. Okay, next is long letter. So, these letters has an upper and lower loops. Katulad na lang po ng letter F. Diba? Okay? So, letter F, ganyan po ang itsura. Right? Okay, letter F. It has an upper. So, meron po siyang upper loop and then meron po siyang lower loop. Okay? And that's it for long letters. Okay, and loop po ay yung formation na nabubuo. Katulad ng letter F kanina. So, kung meron po tayong eyelet or meron po tayong bowl. Okay, so eyelet or bowl. Pero pag sa mga gantong itsura po, okay, common po pwede sa letter B, okay, or letter F. Ito po yung tinatawag natin na loops. Okay? This is an oblong curve found on small letter just like letter F or pwede rin letter G. Okay? Letter G. In some letter G. Okay? Or letter L. Common on letter L. Right? So, that is what we refer to as loop. Okay? And next is for movement impulses. So, this refers to the continuity of stroke. Okay? Forged writing is usually produced by disconnected in broken movements or more motion or movement impulses than in genuine handwriting. So, just when we say movement impulses, we are just referring to the continuity of stroke. We are going to see if the handwriting is disconnected, okay, or broken, or if the handwriting is showing a genuine handwriting by looking at it is continuous, okay, hindi pa hinto-hinto. Alright, so that is movement of impulses. We are referring to the continuity of the stroke. Tuloy-tuloy yung connected, okay, connected yung strokes, kumbaga, or tuloy-tuloy yung sulat. And we have here an example, or we have here retouching or patching na sinasabi natin. Okay? Retouching or ang sinasabi natin sa retouching, we are referring to it as going back over to repair a defective version of a stroke. Okay? It is careful. Okay? Careful patching is common defect on forgeries. Katulad na lang po nito. Okay? So, nung una, okay, siguro nagkamali siya sa parang ganun yung nangyari sa kanya. Okay? Hindi niya nabuo yung letter P. So, ang ginawa niya, binalikan niya. Binalikan niya and then inayos niya. Right? Or nagkaroon ng, nagkaroon ng, ang letter G niya, letter G ang isusulat niya, pero hindi nabuo. So, ang ginawa niya is binalikan niya and then inayos niya. Right? So, that would be a form of retouching or patching. Okay? Or going back. Okay, or hindi maayos yung pagkakasulat ng letter G or somewhat the letter G niya. Ang ginawa niya is binalikan inayos-ayos niya. Okay, that is a form of retouching. Okay, that is commonly showing thickening of the strokes. Maybe just like in here. Okay, naging ano siya, naging mas makapal kaysa dun sa ibang strokes. That is retouching or patching po na sinasabi nila. Okay, and retracing naman or retrace, a stroke that goes back over another writing stroke. Okay, any parts of a stroke which is superimposed upon initial stroke. Okay, example, vertical stroke of letter D and T. Okay, so as to letter T, kung minsan wala siyang nabubuong loop, di ba? So that is an act of retrace or retracing. Okay, so tumaas siya pero hindi siya nakabuo ng lower loop. I mean, ng loop, I should say. Okay? So, that is an act of retracing or retrace. Okay? Magkaiba po siya sa retouching. Just on the purpose. Because for retouching or patching, that is to repair a defective portion. But this is normal. Okay? Retracing or retrace. Maybe that is a form of a habit. Meron kasi yung iba, ganun lagi ang letter T niya. But there are also some that has a letter T that it doesn't have a loop. Okay? Same as to the other letters, just like letter B. Okay? Wala siyang nabubuong loop. Okay? Katulad din ng letter D. So, hindi siya nabubuo or walang loop na nabubuo. Okay? That is a form of retrace or retracing. Alright? And now, next is with regards to shoulder. So, pag sinabi naman po nating shoulder, simply we are referring to the outside portion of the top curve. Okay, so asan po yung shoulder niya? Okay, the shoulder is in this part. That is the outside portion of the top curve. Okay, and small letter M, it is common also on letter M. Okay, where is the shoulder? Then this is the shoulder part. Alright, so that is the shoulder of the letter, and the small letter N also. Okay, we are referring to it as the shoulder. Alright, and we have here also the spur. When we say spur, we are referring to this short horizontal beginning strokes. Katulad na lang po ng ito. It is common also on ending strokes, or pwede rin sa mga ano. So, take note, hindi po beard ang hugis. Kasi kapag ganun ang hugis, then that is a beard. Pero kapag ganun naman ang hugis, then that is a hook. Okay? And kapag sabihin natin ang spur, it might be just like this one. Okay? It's not falling under the, or it's not characterized as a beard or a bed. Okay? Bead or a, ano to, what we so called as hook. Okay? But maybe it's just like this one. Okay? Or it is common for the ending stroke. So that is what we are referring to as spur. Just a short or horizontal beginning stroke. Okay? Short or horizontal beginning stroke. Okay? So anyway, meron po tayo yung staff din. Okay? Staff, it is a backspace of a letter. Okay? Any major long downward stroke of a letter, such as the long downward stroke of the letter B and letter G. Okay, backspace of the letter. Okay, so is long downward stroke of the letter. Okay, so we are referring to yung backspace po. Okay, usually a letter B is written in this manner, right? So yung tinatawag po natin na staff is the backspace of the letter. Okay, which is the downward stroke, yung pababa po. Okay. So we are having this as our staff, the staff. Okay, that is the downward stroke of the letter. Okay, or we just simply refer to the printing. Okay, the staff of the letter is this one. Okay, so that is the long downward stroke. Okay, long major downward stroke. Tulad na lang din po ng letter G, we have the staff. Okay. We can say that this is the staff. Okay, the long downward stroke of the letter. Also with letter D, the long downward stroke of the letter. That is the staff. Okay, so that is for staff. And next is we have here the shank or stem or main stroke of the letter. So we have here the upright long downward stroke, that is the trunk or stalk of the stalk, or normally seen in capital letters. Okay, downward strokes of any letter. Okay, so meron po tayo yung shaft or stem po na tinatawag natin, or the main stroke. It is common for the big letters. So in comparison with the staff, okay, backspace of a letter. Okay, sabi po dyan, backspace of the letter or any major long downward stroke of a letter, such as the long downward stroke of the letter B or letter G. So backspace, okay, na nabanggit natin kanina, these are the ones. But for this is common for small letters, okay, small letters. But as to big letters, okay, this is the main pag sinabing shank or stem, then this is common on the big letters. Okay? So, katulad po ng letter B. And letter D, the shank or main stroke of it is this one. Okay? And katulad po sa letter D. Alright? And pag sinabi po nating tick or hitch naman po, pag tick or hitch, okay, it is any stroke, okay, which usually occurs at the top of the letter. Katulad na lang po ng mga to. Okay? So, those are tick, or we can call this as hitch. But we can say that it is also a form of diacritic. Okay? So, this is a one form of diacritic, a tick or a hitch. Alright? And we have here another one, the whirl. Okay? So, when we say whirl, the upward strokes usually on letters that have long loops. Okay, so whirl, maybe we are referring to it as the upward strokes. Okay, usually on long letters that have long loops. Okay, so maybe we can say that this is an example, right? Or the upward stroke of it. Okay, the upward stroke, we are referring to the upward strokes. Okay, so with that, we are referring to the upward stroke, then these ones. Okay, the upward stroke usually on letters that have long loops. Okay, so anyway, that is for whirl. And for linear letters, okay, lowercase letters having no ending, I mean ascending loops or stems, or it doesn't have stems. Okay, and or descending loop, or it doesn't also have descending loops or stems, sometimes called minuscule. Okay, so simply these are small letters. We are referring to small letters. So meron po tayo kasi yung tinatawag na we are referring to it as we have here we are referring to it as small letters, sabi natin. So let us try to familiarize, kasi meron tayo yung tinatawag na X height. Okay, so sabi natin kanina, ang itsura po niyan is parang ganito yung lining po natin. Okay, so we have here the descender, and on the top portion we have the descender, an imaginary line. Okay, we have here the ascender line. So dan po yung sumasagi yung ascenders, or yung topmost portion ng long letters. Okay, and ito po yung ascender po to, diba? Ascender line, and we have here the descender line. Okay, and this is the baseline. Okay, baseline. And pag magmula po dito, okay, from and then ito po ay tinatawag natin na X line. Okay, or cup line. Tinatawag nila na cup line, I should say. Cup line, or let's just say cup line. Okay, and we have here yung tinatawag natin from the cup line to the baseline, ang tawag po natin doon ay X height. Okay, X height. So ang mga nandito po, yung mga yan, okay, yung mga nandyan lang sa area na yan, yung nandito lang, belongs to this. It doesn't have an upper loop, okay, katulad ng letter F. It doesn't have a lower loop, katulad ng letter P and letter Y. Okay, so we call them as linear letters. Okay, like letter E and letter X. Okay, we can call them as lowercase, linear letters. Alright? So, yun po yung tinatawag natin na linear letters. So, take note also pag sinabi nating cup height, that is from the baseline up to the uh, let's say the cup line. Okay, I mean the ascender, right? So we can say that that is the cup height. Okay, so anyway, let us try to elaborate more that as we move on the following terms. Okay, so we have here the supralinear naman. Pag sinabi pong supralinear, okay, pag sinabi pong supralinear, ladies and gentlemen, these are letters that extend a distance vertically above the linear letters. Okay, distance above. Take note, above. Alright? So, katulad na lang po ng letter B, letter D, letter H, K, L, at saka letter T. Okay? So, kung kanina, yung hanggang sa, ano lang siya, hanggang sa, or it is limited on the X, the cup line, okay, or the middle line, maybe, ang ating supralinear po ay yung katulad po ng big letter T natin, or big letters, pwedeng big letter T natin, or pwedeng big letter F, okay? Or pwede pong big letter D naman, or big letter H. Kasi ang pag isusulat natin dito, big letter H is, yan, it has a upper, or it has a, or it is above, okay? The linear letters. So, kung ito yung linear letters, meron siyang extension doon sa taas, katulad ng letter H. Okay, katulad ng letter F. Okay, katulad din ng letter B. Okay? So, yun po yung ano natin. Yan po yung sa supralinear. Tandaan po natin. And then, pag sinabi po nating infralinear naman, they have a lower loop, kumbaga. Okay? They have a lower loop, or strokes that falls vertically below the baseline. Okay? So, katulad na lang po ng letter Y. Okay? It has a, sabi natin, this is our baseline. Ito yung baseline natin. That is the baseline. Okay? And ito po, merong lumagpas, or it has a stroke that extends below the baseline. Katulad ng letter Y, we call it, or this letter Y has, or we call it as infralinear letters. Katulad din po ng letter P. Aside from that, letter Q and letter Z. Letter Z po na hindi printed writing, but yung cursive. Kasi pag sa cursive po, ganun ang itsura ng letter Z. Okay? So, take note of that. Okay? Cursive handwriting letter Z. And we have here also double length letters. Ito na yung mga pinaka mahahaba. Okay? So, meron tayo yung letter F. Okay? Kung sa letter F is, best example is letter F. Kasi abot po siya sa, it has an ascender, and it has as well as a descender. Okay? So, yan po. And letter Z po na big letter. Okay? Na cursive, not a printed. Okay? Katulad din po ng letter Y. Big letter Y na cursive din. Okay? Kapag big letter Y, ganun po yung itsura, if I'm not mistaken. And we have here also a letter P. Letter P, but that is for, that is for small letters. Okay? Right. Here. Okay. Right. So anyway, we don't, I think this might be an error in this part. Okay, we remove letter P in here. Okay, because this is not a letter. It is not falling under. Okay, so we remove letter P in here. It is not included. Okay, because it does not extend above and below the linear line. Okay. Well, anyway, as to letter P, it might fall under linear letters, infralinear, okay, small letters, right? And with that, okay, that is for double length letters. Those are the three common examples. All right, and we have here the other terminologies, still other terminologies with regards to stroke. So, meron po tayo yung air stroke. Observable po ito sa mga pen jump. Okay, pen jump or hiatus that we are referring to. Okay, so dahil sa mabilis po na pagsulat, nagkakaroon po ng air stroke. Okay, na spaces or disconnected handwriting. So, yan po yung air stroke na sinasabi natin. Right? And meron po tayo yung tinatawag na covering stroke naman, a stroke that unnecessarily covers another stroke in concealing action. Okay, katulad na lang po ng sa ibang letters na it has a ano to, an ascender. Okay, covering strokes. Okay, it covers the initial stroke. Okay, covers the initial stroke. And we have here also the final stroke. Okay, final stroke. Pag sinabi nating final stroke, then the ending stroke of it. We are referring to the ending stroke. Okay, that is the final stroke, right? And we have here also upstroke. Of course, those strokes that moves towards or away from the writer. Okay, move the pen away from the letter. Okay, or away from the writer, away from the letter, or we should say away from the writer. Okay, papunta sa or papalayo. Okay, if we are writing it on a paper. And sequence of stroke, the order in which the writing strokes. Okay, if the writing is pakanan ba lahat, going to the right, or papunta sa diagonal. Okay, from left to right, or medyo bumababa from left to right, or pa kanan. I mean pa kaliwa naman yung sulat. Okay, that is what we are referring to sequence of stroke. Okay, another one is supported strokes. Okay, upstrokes partially covering the previous downstrokes. These are common on small letters in cursive. Okay, so the supported strokes, these are usually the supported strokes. Okay, partially covering the previous downstrokes. So yung downstrokes pa natin is letter B, and we are able for us to complete, and we were able to create an eyelet or a bowl in here. We are referring to it as a supported stroke. Okay, so that is for strokes. And just an additional or just a brief review on it. Okay, so we are having here an illustration. So meron po tayo again yung tinatawag natin na ano to, meron tayo yung tinatawag na ano to, cap line. Okay, so I was able to I'm going to correct what I've said a while ago. Okay, so yung cap line, it's not on the middle, that is X line pala. Okay, so that is on the part that I've said a while ago on the previous part. Okay, so hindi po sa yung X height is from the X line, that the middle part is what we so called as X line. Okay, so I hope that that is clear. That is the X line, and we have here the cap line, which is on the topmost portion. Okay, so usually this ends, or this is also the ending portion of ano to, or top portion of the wherein the top portion of big letters rest. Okay, katulad ng letter E. So that is the cap line. So magkaiba po siya sa ascender line, kasi sa ascender line, that is like an extension. Okay, especially with those letters that has a lower upper loop. Okay, katulad na lang po ng letter F, or common for small letters. So ascender line, imaginary line, that is just above the cap line. Okay, that is what we refer to as ascender line. So again, the topmost portion of the letter, of a letter that has a loop, okay, or that has a upper loop portion, that is ascender. Okay, and pag sinabi po nating X height, that is from the X line to the baseline. Ito po yung baseline natin. Okay, and that is X height, and that is where the linear letters rest. Okay, and we have here also serifs, that is just the signs, okay, or initial strokes or beginning strokes. Those are what we call as serifs, a form of initial strokes. And for the cap height, that is from the cap line, okay, from the cap line up to the baseline. Okay, that is what we refer to as cap height. Okay, and type size po, type size, that is from the ascender to the descender line. Okay? Type size po yung tawag natin doon. Okay? Or this is where double loop letters belongs to. Okay? And don't forget descender line and as well as descenders also. So same as to this part. Okay? So yung majuscule na tinatawag natin, those are big letters usually, and minuscule, those are small letters. Okay? So, almost the same din naman. Terminal or final stroke or ending stroke. As to the neck that is connecting, or some letters has a neck actually that connects several strokes. And for the counter, that is the open space. We are referring to the open space of the oval or of a bowl, okay, or of an islet. Okay? Katulad na lang din dito. Or sometimes, they are referring to it also as a counter, the opening of letter M and N. Okay, and as to the ear, right, that might be a form of diacritic also. And we have here the serifs we have mentioned a while ago. And we have here also the swash, okay, that is common for there's some letter just like Y, okay, or this kind of formation. Meron din po tayo on letter A. This is a form of embellishment or a form of decoration. Okay, so swash, or it can be found on an initial stroke, or it is on the ending stroke. So parang nabaliktad na hook ang itsura. And as to the minuscule, that is for small letters. We are referring to small letters. Okay, the bar, or that is a form of a diacritic also. And as to the axis, that is what we are going to look on for us to determine the angle, okay, or the slant of the handwriting. So that is from the point wherein we are going to draw an imaginary line for us to determine if paslant ba yung sulat niya, or maybe his handwriting is in a vertical or in a straight line. Okay? Katulad na lang nito. So, paano po natin ma-determine yung axis niya? So, kung mapapansin niyo po, hindi po paslant yung sulat niya. It is from here. Okay? So, the axis is yan. Okay? We were able to determine that his handwriting is on that angle. Okay? Yung angle niya. For us to determine the exact slant of his writing. Okay? And that is for an additional. So now let us try to discover the indications of, or major indications of speed in writing. Alright? As well as slow writing. Okay? Fast speed or speed writing, and we have here slow writing. So usually, smooth unbroken strokes po pag mabilis po siya. Common po na ma-observe natin. Okay? Kasi wala siyang hesitation. So, tuloy-tuloy po yung sulat. Or sometimes, there is a form of hiatus. Okay? Pero mahalatado naman kung ano yung itsura ng hiatus then. Okay? That is observable, or there are differentiating characteristics of hiatus with the pen leaves. Okay? And we have here broken strokes. Katulad na lang po ng mga ito. Okay? So, it's not a freely initiated strokes, or kung mapapansin niyo pahinto-hinto, merong mga spacing. So parang isulat yung isang letter, sinulat yung isang letter, tapos iaangat naman yung pen, tapos pupunta sa taas. Okay? Or starting from here, okay? Instead na it is disconnected. Okay? Instead sa kabila, kung mapapansin niyo ang ginagawa, pinagkokonekta. Okay? Dahil sa bilis ng sulat niya. Okay? Alright, so that is a form, or that is a basic difference between those two. So, speed in writing, usually we can observe misplaced diacritics, katulad ng letter I. Sa pagmamadali, napunta doon yung dot niya instead na dito, comma. Dito sana. Right? And dito naman sa kabila, usually accurate po yung pagkakalagay ng in comparison with the others. Okay? Kapag slow handwriting yan, exact yung location, or exact, or at the center, accurate yung pagkakalagay. As to the slow handwriting, we have here frequent signs of tendencies to the left. Okay? Or since siya, slow handwriting, usually yung slope ng, or yung tendency, yung slant ng handwriting niya is pa left siya, pag ganun. Okay? Or medyo, if you are going to apply the determination of axis, the tendency is the tendency is on the left. Okay? Yan yung common din na indication daw ng slow handwriting. Okay? But as to the fast handwriting, it may be on the tendency is on the right. Okay? So anyway, we have here also joining of initial words. So nagkakadugtong-dugtong yung sulat. Katulad na lang po ng mga to. Okay? Mga yan. Okay? And as to the slow handwriting, conspicuous certainly as to the location, yung nabanggit ko kanina, accurate or almost perfect yung pagkaka-align ng letter or the diacritics. Okay? And as to letter D, speed in writing, tapered po. Okay? Tapered and illegibly. Okay? Or hindi masyadong maintindihan kung minsan. Okay? Or from makapal to manipis yung ending niya. Okay? And katulad ng mga to. Right? So, that is also one indication of speed in writing. We have here also for slow writing. Okay? Frequent pauses by meaningless blobs. Okay? Blobs or pamumuo ng ink. Okay? Pamumuo ng ink. And we have here on the angles, it might be papalit-palit. I mean, not as in papalit-palit, okay, but maybe as to the, it is same, okay, or in proportion. We have here divided letters, hindi magkakadugtong, okay, and retouches, or there is an act of retouching, right? And we have here also mark uncertainty as the location of the dots. Okay, medyo naulit lang siya kanina. And katulad na rin po ng letter T. Okay? Yung iba nasa baba masyado or nasa taas masyado. Or kung minsan walang cross pa. Kung minsan nasa right lang. Okay? And careful execution of the detail of the letters. Okay? So, naka-vertical, straight na straight, and then, of course, yung ano din. Okay? Ano to? As to the slant, it is vertical, perfectly vertical, and mas makapal yung ink din niya. Okay? Increase spontaneity of the words, small letter T connected with the following words, just like in here. So, instead na tigi-isa, okay? Tigi-isa na lagyan ng bar, ang ginagawa is pinagsama na. Katulad ng nasa image natin. Alright? And meron tayo narrow writing. So, ibig sabihin, mas kapag slow writing, medyo magkakadikit po yung sulat natin usually. That is as an indication of slow writing. Okay? And spacing. Narrow writing and spacing. As well as letter G, letter curtailed and degenerated almost to illegibility toward the end of the end of words. Okay, so ano to, letter curtailed, okay, or degenerated or numinipis po yung size. Okay, from the first part medyo makapal yung ink. Okay, medyo makapal usually on the initial strokes. Okay, pero kapag as they go on, nagre-relax po yung kamay. Okay, yung rhythm niya ay because of the rhythm. Okay, or mabilis siyang magsulat. Also is numinipis yung sulat niya. Okay, or yung size ng ink. Okay, so kung una medyo mabigat yung kamay niya, but as he write, okay, fast as he can, gumagaan. Okay, wherein that is a factor wherein the ink, the size of the ink writing is also degenerating. And to the, unlike on slow handwriting, okay, kung mapapansin po nyo, makapal yung ink niya from the very beginning, or the size of the ink or the size of the strokes from the very beginning up to the end is the same. Okay, halos walang pinagkaiba. Unlike dito, numipis, makapal and then numipis bigla. Okay? And dito, the same. Okay, makapal dito until the end. Kasi nga, kapag slow writing yan, ang mangyayari sa kamay mo is hindi nagre-relax, di ba? Hindi siya nagre-relax, parang madiin yung mga sulat. Okay? So that is for letter G. Letter H, usually for speed writing, malawak, okay? Or wide writing and wide spacing. Ornamentals, common po yan sa slow writing. Mga decorations ng writing, okay? Or embellishments. Mark simplification of letters, especially capital letters, just like letter L or K rising lines. Okay, so that is another one is ano to? On letter L. Okay, so mark simplification of letters, especially on letters. So instead of ano to, it's not letter L but it's letter I should say. So letter I, okay? So instead na lagyan ng mga ganito, okay? Simply just putting it, removing this one, simplification, right? So that is common on letter I. Okay, rising lines is also common on speed writing. Okay, rising lines, rising strokes or rising strokes, common on fast handwriting. Sinking lines naman is okay, the strokes. We are referring to the strokes that are also sinking or pababa, kumbaga. Okay? Or kung hindi man we are referring to the ink. Okay? I mean to the ano to, sinking of the lines on the paper more. Okay? Because of the pressure that is being onto the uh, put on by the person or put on by the writer as he writes. Okay? So yon, and we have here increased pen pressure, of course. Increased pen pressure, increase in the margin to the left. Okay? Or since mabilis siyang magsulat, then ano siya, uh, ano to, kung minsan yung margin niya hindi na na-observe. Okay, and then increase in pen pressure usually at the ano to, meron siya from the very beginning. Okay, meron din yung relax, kumbaga meron yung relax siya nung una. Okay, relax nung una tapos biglang dumiin sa kalagitnaan. Okay, and bigla na namang after or on during the ending part is numipis ulit siya. Okay, so there is a relaxation and there is also emphasizing of a pressure and carefully made final pen pressure and spacing, or there is a blunt ending strokes that are being formed. Okay, so overall, those are the indications that we can commonly observe to differentiate for us to discover maybe a fast writing and slow writing. Okay, so maybe that's enough for this time. And if you have a question, then you can have here on our comment section, or maybe we are going to answer it on our synchronous session. All right. So with that, thank you very much once again and see you on our next synchronous sessions.